Caroline Knox has said. Rishi Sunak has said his ethics advisor to investigate Mr. Zahawi's financial affairs, saying there are questions that need answering. Mr. Zahawi, facing opposition calls to resign after reaching a settlement with HMRC over previously unpaid tax, but a fellow minister said he should be allowed to stay on during the probe. Chris Phillip, a minister at the Home Office, added was reasonable for him to stay at post, and it wouldn't be fair to jump to any conclusion. Sports. Chelsea contracts to lead to financial fair play rules changed by UEFA. UEFA is to change the financial fair play rules in response to Chelsea's recent trend of signing players on long-term contracts. Signing players on extended contracts enables Chelsea to spread the players' transfer fee over the life of that deal when submitting the annual accounts. That means £89 million signing Marquilio Madrid will be valued at £11 million a year over his 8.5 year deal. UEFA is to set a 5 year limit over which a transfer fee can be spread. Clubs will still be able to offer longer deals, and the UK regulations that will not be able to stretch transfer fees beyond the first 5 years. The change to FFP rules will continue to come in force during the summer and will not apply retrospectively. And that is update on the weather, sports, and politics. Today, we have a very interesting topic to discuss. China in recent years has become a dominant force in Africa. That it's very difficult to talk about trade, talk about economics, talking about the political, terrain and atmosphere in Africa without, it will be out of place to make those analyses devoid of any mentioning of China's economic interest and political dominance in African politics and Africa as, a continent. Now, when we say that per that phenomenon, Africa is under Chinese imperialist domination or oppression. Now, this evening, that will be the height of our interest and the thesis of our concern tonight. And to help me do that is in the person of Mr. Kofi Ali, who happens to be the founder and the chairman of the Economic Citizens' Rights Association. Yeah, Kofi, you're welcome to the studios.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Of ECOWAS Citizens' Rights
Advocate, yeah. Chairman's, he's made the correction. The ECOWAS Citizens' Rights Advocate. Yes, so as I was saying, China today is we have Chinese people in Africa, some who have been in Africa for years, and some are well-established businesses, and right now we have African countries that are highly indebted to China, pair the bilateral, and diplomatic relations. But there is a level of concern that, this is the same way the Europeans came with trade, you understand? Mid-90s, the arrival of China in most African countries was seen as, some good omen because of the fact that there were healthy bilateral and multilateral trade interests. But it seems that as time went by, this is getting out of hand. It's like China gradually has taken political dominion, and hegemonic hold on African economies. Now, first and foremost, I would just want us to look at, let's try to make sense of this. Now, in much of Africa today, China is imperialist power. Now, China in Africa now is advancing Maoism, but in control people and the potential. Now, from the building of railways in Kenya, roads in Ethiopia, to running mines in Congo, China has drastically changed the African economic landscape in the 20th century. Now, why do you think that Africa always becomes the receiving end of global hegemonic dominance. What is the problem?
Well, I think the problem is the so-called Africans themselves. And that starts with you, and I thank you very much for having me this evening. My humble self, Kofi Ali, Chairman, ECOWAS Citizens Right Africa. You see, China is not the problem at all. If we are failing to realize that throughout the world, there is always the effort by those that are more competitive as a people, and that we are part of the global family. We are all eating from the same pot. So those that are more culturally competitive and able to have kind of advantage over others, mostly technological advantage, tend to call the shots. Europeans have been on the African continent. We need to be very careful when we are looking at where we are going and the concerns we are raising. And in this case, we are looking at a whole continent. The Europeans, as so many countries, have been on the African continent for so many years. And then later, the Americans came in. Now, when we talk about Americans, we are talking about those in the United States of America, which is United States, a country in the northern part of America. When they came in, they succeeded through the IMF and introduced a lot of debt on us. Most of these countries are on their knees. The debts are too much. We can't pay. We are seriously indebted to these people.
So why do we keep on, constantly trying to get ourselves, in the mat? I mean, and carrying more debts when actually we find it difficult, to repay the debts
Just our situation, our circumstances, our nature is what is killing us. See, the Europeans came, right? They came for natural resources. They came for a place to market their finished goods, whatever they wanted. What did they build? Nothing. They left us with debt until the Americans came in. Americans are also there for themselves, and they came with what? Tying us back to the debt. Remember that the debt is a means, for political and economic control. Can you see?
Yeah.
Then now the Chinese are also on the stage doing basically the same thing. They are there to be able to have influence. If you watch the telly yesterday night, even today, the foreign minister of Russia is in South Africa. Can you see? So it's all about to what extent are we ourselves, you see, understanding the role being played in the global arena. To what extent do we understand the role we are all playing in the global arena? So the challenge we are now having is that we never realize that there is a serious challenge that we have to play our part. So far, we've not done very well at all. Nkrumah was saying this thing, that for those who do not get up and take a critical position, re-strategize themselves in these battles of survival, will leave to be the victims. We are the victims here. Can you see? Because we don't seem to understand the game. Let me come back to something. Why do you think the Europeans formed the European Union? Yeah? Europeans have got the European Union by which they go about fighting for their own interest. So they are not waiting for someone to fight for them. Because they are aware that if they don't do that, the Chinese will push them out. And you can see the Russians are also doing very well to make sure that they are not left behind. But it's happened that we are not doing well. So we are left behind until we sit down and understand that, look, it's not about a continent. When you say China is not a continent. China is a country. Oh. Can you see? China is a country. China is a country. Right? India is a country. United States of America is a country. But when we come, maybe because we are looking at the Europeans and we don't understand what we are doing, we are putting the issue of a continent in front. The continent is a divided continent because countries are always divided. Countries will have their own interest, and his interests at play here. So we are victims because we don't understand exactly the game confronting us. So it will be good if we shall. It will be good if we shall understand that we will do better. We will do better if we start looking at what we are doing rather than it will be good if we look at issues critically. We formed the OAU. The OAU was transformed into the African Union. The African Union has failed us. OAU has failed us, right? Years are going by. Youth are coming out. No job. While the Chinese are fighting for the interests of their people, we are here worried about each country fight for themselves. And it will take us a long time to get out of this problem. Yeah, it will take us a very long time to get ourselves out of this problem. So far, we are in a state where we are really looking at others, pointing fingers, blaming others. So right now, what we are doing is that we are pointing fingers at what? The new imperialists, Chinese invasion of Africa. Chinese invasion of Africa. The Chinese are actually fighting for jobs for Chinese people. They are working hard to make sure that
abusuafo yɛde dwumadie foforɔ ɛbrɛ mu wɔ GN Radio. Your friend Worship and Inspiration every Sunday evening between the hours of 7 and 9 p.m. Daniel Kweku Datson and Amanda Ofori at this dwumadie ɛbrɛ. Make sure that you tune in. It's going to be an awesome moment of worship, God's word, conversation, gospel celebrity interviews, Bible knowledge, and what have you. And also your comments. I want to hear from you, your testimonies, what inspires you, and a lot more. Make sure say on message our programming every Sunday evening at GN Radio. Worship and Inspiration. Your weekly inspiration starts from here.
The world as we know it has changed, and so have the issues affecting our community.
COVID-19 and the geopolitical tensions have really made it abundantly clear that the African continent has to do more to be self-sufficient from an industrial capacity point of view.
Join me, Jones Ewa, on GN Breakfast Show as we look at issues affecting us here in the UK, with a close eye on trending stories across the world.
When we invest from the UK into infrastructure in African countries, that it is absolutely transparent.
With a focus on Ghana's social and political issues.
I mean, it's not about you thinking about, your money, the Sikadiabasa is not what our authorities should be thinking about, or officials, but rather they should think about the nation.
The Breakfast Show with Jones Ewa.
Monday to Wednesday from 8 a.m. on GN Radio.